Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me. This is Ciara from Ciara T Designs, and today I have these really fun thank you cards to share with you, so let's jump right in. So I'm going to use some HammerMill Cardstock. You guys know if you've been with me for any length of time, it is my favorite cardstock to blend on, and I have it cut down to be the full size of an A2 card, which is 4¼ by 5½ inches. And I'm going to blend two different kinds of blends. I have my first blend here, which is Wild Honey, Ripe Persimmon, Seedless Preserves, and Chipped Sapphire. And I do have a video that kind of goes through blending tips. If you need them, you can go check that out. I'll have it linked. But I love my domed blending foams for this. They are greatly my preference. I always use them for blending. I think that they're a great way to blend. And I don't know, I was trying to come up with a couple really vibrant blends. You know, again, if you've been with me for any length of time, that I gravitate towards very vibrant colors. It's kind of just the palette that I really enjoy. And so this was a kind of a fun color palette I came up with for just the entertainment value. I'm about to go into Christmas cards. I do Christmas in July, so I just really wanted something with a floral, something vibrant, something kind of fun and summery. So that is what I kind of tried to aim for. But of course I want light to dark. So this almost feels like a bit of a fall palette, though that wasn't intentional. It was just a kind of fun palette I could put together. So I'm going to blend that across, and do keep in mind these do dry back a little bit, so they won't be quite as vibrant as they are now. And then for my second blend, I used Twisted Citron, Peacock Feathers, Uncharted Mariner, and Villainous Potion. Purple happens to be one of my favorite colors, and so I thought it would be really fun to end both of them kind of in a purpley colored shade. Of course, Chipped Sapphire is the other one, and it is a blue, but I still love that there's purple in both, even though they're quite different in color palette. And I had a lot of fun creating these. Now I'm going to do circles, as you saw from the opening pictures, but you could do squares, you could do hexagons, you could do stars. Any shape would work for this. I just opted for circles because I think circles is the only nested dies I have. Oh, I might have squares actually. But circles is kind of the biggest nested die selection I have because I wasn't totally sure what size of circles I wanted to use. So, I mean, you could vary the sizes as well. Like there's so many ways you could make this your own. If you don't enjoy the colors I chose, make it, a different palette. You could do this in ombre colors. You could do this, there's so many things you could do here to make this your own. So I tried to make very versatile cards that you guys can recreate, and then just find a large floral. So in this case, I brought out the Holtz Exquisite stamp. This is just this beautiful large floral, and I am going to use my stamping platform. This is a Misti, because you have to stamp it in the exact same place on all 4 papers, or you make it a little more difficult for yourself when you go to line up the circles that you've cut out or whatever shape. You could probably pull it off with a stamping block, but honestly, I'm not even sure I'd try it. You could do it though. If you don't own a stamping platform, you just have to be a lot more aware of your stamping. Whereas for this, I literally can just put the paper in, stamp it, and call it a day. Like it's a little less thought process there. And I do have a Waffle Flower Mat in the back of my Misti. That's what holds my paper in place. It's just like a sticky mat. I love it. It's probably one of my favorite purchases that I've made in a little while, just because I don't have to use my magnet. I can just stamp and it cleans up beautifully. Mine is a little bit dirty, but it does clean up beautifully when you want to have it clean. And I can still see the grid in the back of my Misti. And as you can see, I use it with red rubber stamps and silicone stamps. So it doesn't really matter what stamp I'm using. I can use mat with it. So I do really, really enjoy that mat. So there you go. You can see that I have all of them stamped now, and I'm going to add some perfect pearls. I love splatter and texture, so this is just something I lean towards. If you don't enjoy that, you don't have to add it. You could leave them the way they are. It's just one of those things where I tend towards a lot of splatter and texture, so I will reach for it pretty much always, but it is not necessary by any means. You could skip this step completely if that's not your thing. Just like the embellishments at the end. I am going to add some embellishments. You don't need to though, honestly. You could skip that step and just call it a day. So I did splatter it across all of the panels, and the ink that I used is the Versafine Onyx black ink. It is waterproof, so I can splatter on top of it and it doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't do anything, because I am going to add a little bit of water to the blended panels as well. Again, just for some texture, unnecessary if you don't like that look, but I love it, so I do kind of go that direction. And I'm just going to let them dry, and then we're going to move on to cutting. So the easiest way I found to do this was to tape two of them together. Again, you don't have to do this. However, I found it the easiest way. Now, be careful with your tape. This is a low tack tape, but I am going to rip my blended panel later. It's not a big deal. I'm going to hide it behind a sentiment, but I do rip it. So make sure you have, really low tack tape for this. You could maybe put the black and white one in the front, and then you wouldn't notice it as much as you would from this. But I wanted to see where I was cutting on the colored panel, because I wanted to make sure I was getting a little bit of each color blend in the circles that I was die cutting. So that's kind of why I did it that way, but you could reverse it and then just cut and you wouldn't see the rips as much. Now I have a Sizzix switch off to the side. So I actually ran this through and then I pushed the switch button and then it came back again. So it was cut twice. I had no problem getting both layers to cut. You can see that they popped out beautifully, no issues at all. If they don't, at least with this kind of idea, it would have pressed the circle into the back page, and then you could line it up again to run it back through if it didn't actually cut through both for you. So this is kind of why I did it this way specifically. You don't have to do that, of course, whatever works for you, but that is why I did it. Because I knew that if it didn't cut all the way through the first run, I would at least have like a template of where those circles needed to sit for me to actually get my die cuts in the exact same place. And it worked beautifully, to be honest with you. Now you're going to see I did rip it. You can see kind of in the Seedless Preserves on that one, I ripped my ink up a little bit, the paper up. Again, like I said, I'm going to cover it with a sentiment later, so it really doesn't matter, but I did, so be careful with your low tack tape. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing for the second panel, kind of line them up. I did try really hard to kind of have them around the flowers. Like you can see here, this one I have kind of going around those two buds in the top. This one's kind of centered specifically on one flower, and this one's on just another flower. You could put them closer, you could put them further apart. There's no right or wrong here. I was just focusing on flowers specifically. And then I'm going to run that through, hit the switch button, have it come back to me, and again, cut beautifully. So that worked out really well, so I didn't have to worry about them not cutting. And then they lined up stunningly as well. You're going to see here in a minute when we actually get to that step that they did line up beautifully. So I had no issues with that at all. So it worked out really well. So I just really want to quickly thank my members. You guys are phenomenal. I greatly appreciate you. Sometimes I forget to thank them and I feel so horrible about that. So you guys make it so that I can make this content free for everybody. So thank you so much. I greatly appreciate you. And if you're at all interested in checking out my membership, you can see it in the link below. It is the first link in the description. And then I'm going to kind of start adhering these. So I started by doing what I normally do. And usually I have no problem eyeballing it, but this is the full A2 size, and I don't generally do that. I usually have like layers and borders and stuff, so I kind of had to fiddle with it a little bit. So I remembered this trick I learned a long time ago, and I'm going to bring in my Score Buddy here in a second, and I'm going to actually line it up in the corner of that instead, because that is way simpler to do this. So you're going to see here in 2 seconds, because I struggled with this one to get it lined up nicely. So for my second one, I brought in my Score Buddy, lined up my card base in the corner, and then I'm going to line up my panel into that same corner, and then it's squared up perfectly to the base. So this is a great way if you're struggling to get your card panels and bases to go together nicely. This is a great way to do it. You just kind of line them up in the corner and you're good to go. And of course I did all 4 cards. So now I'm going to add a little bit of foam tape to the underneath. I'm finally going to use the end of my first roll of Big Mama foam tape. I have had this roll oh boy, like 5 years I've had this roll, and I do use it fairly often, but it comes with so much tape that it took me so long to actually use it. So you're going to see me bust out my new roll here in a second because I've finished off this roll right here. And you can see how huge the new roll is. Like, it's crazy how big these things are. It is from Simon Says Stamp, and it's my favorite foam tape because it is only about 1/8 of an inch. It's super thin, and it just gives you a little bit of dimension, which, like texture, I happen to love. So I do like to add that onto my cards. But you can see how big this is. It's just insane. So I love this foam tape. It's by far my favorite. And I added a little bit to all of the circles just to give them a little more dimension. Like, it's just my jam. So that's what I did. And if you aren't subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you'd consider subscribing. It is my dream to hit 20,000 by the end of this year. And I do have some fun stuff coming. We have, of course, Christmas in July. I don't say we. Me and my cats, I guess. I have some Christmas in July videos about to happen. All of them are Christmas in July with the exception of 2. My bullet journal video and my watercolor video won't be Christmas themed, but every other video in July will be Christmas themed. So if that's of interest to you, make sure you stick around and hit that subscribe button. And if you are already subscribed to the channel, thank you so much for hanging out with me every week. I can't explain how exciting it is that you guys come and you watch my videos and you leave me comments and you tell me things, and you're sharing in this crazy dream of mine, and I cannot say how much I appreciate you. So thank you so much. So here you can see that I'm just removing the foam tape and kind of lining them up. I've kind of chosen the leaves as the way to line all of these up, just because I felt like it was kind of the easiest thing for me to eyeball to line up. So like in the top corner here, I'm lining up the top leaves with that stem, and then I adhere them down. So that's what I do for all 4 cards. There's really no rhyme or reason here. And you can see that this is a lot of subtle dimension, but this is such a fun and vibrant card set. Again, if you don't enjoy vibrant colors, you could of course use muted colors and tone this back a little bit, but me being me, I need to add everything in the kitchen sink to all my cards. I am a more is more style crafter, so I do tend towards, adding all the things and just having so much fun that way. So completely up to you. You can easily make this your own. And I am going to add thank you sentiments. You're going to see that here in a few minutes. I tend towards birthday and thank you cards. They are generally what I need the most in my stash. And I have a market, like a large market coming up here pretty soon. It's in October. And I'm trying to kind of round out my stash with the cards that I find sell the most. And for me, that tends to be Christmas, thank you, and birthday. So that is what I tend to create both for my own personal use and for the ones that I sell at a market. So that is kind of what I'm leaning towards creating. So that's what I kind of went with here. I just used a really simple thank you stamp. I think that it held itself up really well with these cards because they are quite vibrant and bold. So it's just, I'm going to stamp it on some black cardstock. I'm going to white heat emboss it just because I think that was a fun look. And then I'm going to change my mind and actually adapt it a tiny bit here after I've kind of heat set and everything. I felt like it wasn't standing out enough on its own. So I'm going to bring in some silver glitter cardstock, you'll see here, once I've heat set this and kind of move forward. But I find sometimes if you feel like your sentiment's getting a little bit lost, I find adding a little bit of sparkle with it really helps catch the eye and pull it to where you need it to be. So you'll see here, I'm going to trim them down with my mini trimmer just because I like this for like the label style sentiments. So I'm going to trim them all down. And then when I put it on the card, it just kind of felt like it got a little bit lost with how much is going on with the card. And not that I want it to steal the show necessarily, because I don't. I do want you to see it though, and be aware that there is a sentiment on the card. So because of that, I did kind of have to come up with something that kind of helped. Like, I don't know if you can really tell here, but it just kind of, with all of the black and white going on in the background, it just didn't stand up enough for me. So I am going to adapt that a little bit. I'm going to bring in the Tim Holtz Sparkle Classics and use the silver one. It's got a Kraft back and it's printed, so no glitter flakes off at you. It's mind-boggling to me. And I decided to just add a little border of it around my sentiment, and you'll see how much easier it makes reading the sentiment when I get to that step, because it was funny how hard it's not difficult to see. You can see the sentiment, but your eye isn't drawn to it. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. Sometimes I'm not sure if I make any sense when I'm trying to explain like design choices. But it just felt like it was getting a little bit lost. So I added just a touch of a border. It's a very thin border around, and you're going to see that it gives it enough of something to catch your eye, and then you're like, hey, there's a sentiment, so I don't know. Hopefully that makes sense. You guys will have to let me know if that made any sense to you, but I'm pretty happy with how these cards came out. They're pretty much everything I love about card making. They're vibrant, they're bold, they have some sparkle, they're just a lot of fun, and they're very eye-catching. So I always have fun making that style of card. And, we're going into Christmas, so wait until you see some of my Christmas cards. If you have not done any of my Christmas videos yet, you will be a little surprised at how vibrant of Christmas cards I create. It is incredibly rare for me to use a traditional color palette when I start making Christmas cards, because I'm so drawn to vibrant colors that is what I tend towards regardless of what I'm making. But I had a lot of fun with that. And then I couldn't decide where I wanted my sentiment to sit. So you're going to see here, I'm going to put on the colored ones, I'm going to put them kind of to the right side. And then on the black and white ones, I kind of put it on the left side. No right or wrong. I just thought it was kind of fun to change it up a little bit. And then that does allow me to use the sentiment to cover up the part that ripped on the orange to bluey colored one. I did go in and fix it, so when I lift the sentiment, you're not going to see any mistakes there, because I did actually bring in a blending tool and just touch it up a little bit, because at that point I wasn't sure where I was going to put my sentiment or if I was even going to be able to cover it up. So here, when I lift this, there's no real error there, not to the video anyway. I can still see it, but this did kind of just help cover that up, and then I don't have to worry that it ripped there, because it doesn't matter. And then of course I am going to add some gems. Like I said, I'm a more is more style crafter, and I have a lot of embellishments in my stash, so I like to bust them out and add them whenever I can. I kind of centered them around the sentiment, if that makes sense. So on the, black and white cards, they're more to the top left. On the colored cards, they're more to the kind of middling bottom right, just because I kind of kept them around the sentiment just to kind of help embellish it a little bit. These, again, are not necessary. However, if you're like me and you like to add all the shiny things to all the things, go for it. Add some glitter. There's nothing wrong with it. And then here, once I'm done this, I am going to hold them up so you can check them out in all of their glory. I think they turned out phenomenal. I cannot wait to hear what you guys all think. And then I did add a strip of that same silver glitter cardstock on the inside, just for a little something on the inside. I'm trying to remember to add something fun on the inside, but honestly, sometimes I forget. But for these, I just did that. It was just an easy way to add like a pop of something interesting on the inside. But I cannot wait to hear what you guys think. I love them. You can see a little indent of the tape on the colored ones, but unless you know to look for it, I don't really think it's noticeable, so I'm perfectly okay with it. But there is just that touch of like a tape smear almost, I guess, at the top there. But yeah, that is the card I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed them. I hope you leave me a like, leave me a comment, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. I do new videos every Monday and Thursday. And like I said, Christmas in July is happening next week. So come back and check those out. Thank you guys so much. And I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.